Welcome to the Author Spotlight Show, a platform dedicated to celebrating remarkable women who share their purpose and their passion to make a difference in this world. My name is Gail Watson. I'm founder and CEO of Women Speakers Association, a global community of women who use their voice to powerfully inspire others. The book we're talking about today is Voices of the 21st Century Women Empowered Through Passion and Purpose. This book features extraordinary women from various backgrounds and walks of life who share their message that is merged from their life experience. With passion and purpose, these stories will inspire you to embrace your own power, break barriers, and create a better future. These women are a testament to the strength and collective voice of women in shaping the world in which they envision. So today we are going to speak to co-author of Voices of the 21st Century, Women Empowered Through Passion and Purpose, Dr. Teresa Barnes. She has been in the business for over 30 years, treating trauma and other psychological disorders using psychotherapy and nutritional and body-centered interventions. So please join me in welcoming to our show, Dr. Teresa Barnes.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Gail, for having me.
Super excited to have you. Love what you do. Love it that you combine, just using that holistic part of our body to solve different things in our bodies. So I want to dive into your story. You share a very personal story in this book called Mothering the Child Within. And I know it's an intimate story about you connecting with your 8-year-old self.
Yes.
So let's talk about what inspired you to share this story.
Well, it actually had started to form during COVID. I guess many people will talk about that. COVID has been a very self-transformational experience, for good and bad. But I was very aware as I sat with clients and I sat with my own anxieties about all the uncertainties about our world and the very air that we breathed. That we were kind of always regressing into almost a childlike space. And what I had discovered by the end of 2021 was that all of our child parts, our younger parts of ourselves, were out running around with very little adult supervision. And I came to the conclusion that no time in our lives has security and stability been that important than in childhood. And being that we were all thrusted into a time and space in our lives where there was no certainty, there was no stability, everything that we've known previously held structures were crumbling, by right, we were all regressing back to that place in our childhood when that developmental need was the greatest. So, needless to say, I have not seen a lot of us recover from that, to be honest with you. I believe now that a lot of our child parts are out, they're out to stay. And so when I noticed about myself is that it was happening as a parallel process with my clients, I was feeling extremely vulnerable to a lot of things that years past it was I would just shrub off. I was like, oh, so big deal, whatever. I was holding on to those things more. And these were more relational things, more like slights, or if I felt like people were not emotionally available to me during that time, I took it very personally. And I'm like, what is going on? I felt more insecure of myself, my social skills, and I'm a therapist. So social skills was my thing. So it got me thinking like, there's a part of me that is trying to communicate. It doesn't feel safe, and I was trying to unpack all that in my own in my own therapy. Um, I discovered that yes, there is a child part of me who came out during this. She resurfaced. She's always been coming out. I just didn't recognize her until had to be still enough during COVID and recognized it. So that really inspired me to start to get to know this part of me that I've either ignored or suppressed. And as I began thinking more about it and we integrated back into this new normal, whatever that means, I found that it was hard for me to be back to the way I was in terms of how I approach relationships, how I approach my hobbies. And I just thought to myself, I need to be able to get to know this part who, given a perfect storm, she wants to disappear in the hole in the floor. There were certain times where I felt like I just wanted to get sucked into the hole. And it wasn't all the time, but there were certain relational spaces where I felt more like I wanted to disappear. So I started to unpack that a little bit more. In my story, I realized that if I ask long enough, like, what do you need? To like we would do our children that are living children that are out of our bodies. What do they need? I had to approach my own mind that way. What do you need? This part of me that feels so vulnerable, and it took a few months before it emerged. And once that part emerged, I thought, oh, then I'm going to look for everything I can to find to minister to her, to meet her needs, because everyone's addressing me as the adult Teresa, but no one's paying attention to the 8-year-old. And so that I made it my goal and my mission to really begin to mother her.
I love that. That's quite a journey
Mhm.
with yourself.
Yes.
Um, you say there was a couple statements that you made in your story. I don't belong. I don't feel beautiful enough. What's that about?
Those came from these life experiences. This experience of not feeling seen, and this is what is pretty much carrying on today, is I'm really hypersensitive to those experiences not being seen. I realized that that was the trigger. That was her trigger. Um, and it could be, it doesn't have to be where I felt ignored or dismissed, even though that was part of it. It was also times where the people who were closest to me thought they knew me, and they prescribed me to these roles in their lives without really seeing the me in these roles. And I think that type of relational neglect kind of breeds this sense of othering, being othered, being, feeling distant. And again, nothing malicious intent. I'm sure a lot of people in my life were like, they were not malicious with it. But it still was conveyed the same, that that I'm not seen, I'm not heard. um so yeah, I think that has been the theme throughout my childhood. and I spent a lot of time kind of wanting to be like, well, I guess everyone could say this, wanting to be like someone else or the people that I thought was getting the attention. And of course, when you got into middle school and high school, then it became more of the dating scene, where it was like, well, I wanted to be the prettiest in the room. I wanted to be the one that the boys noticed. And that for whatever reason I didn't fit the bill, so I thought, maybe, right? Because once that blueprint's been laid and the tape recorder starts, often, everything you see in your life is adapted to this tape recorder, and it was not until you're older doing your own emotional work through therapy where you realize, well, maybe it really wasn't like, but our perception is truth. I mean, so yeah, I think that yeah, and I think up until this, even now, I can clearly say that I haven't really had a place where I could say, oh, yeah, I have my crew from when I was this age, or I've had people coming alongside me. I've had them, but not in a continual sense. There's been seasons of that. So I spent a lot of time, I think, alone, in terms of in my creative spaces alone, in the way I think about things alone. People will come in and bear witness a few times or chime in, but they don't stay. So that experience of aloneness for me has been probably one of the most creative things I have been birthed from, because I've been able to do a lot of things, but also one of the most loneliest things too. So navigating those two contrasts have been, I would say, even up to this point, a very interesting challenge, to say the least.
Very interesting, and that is deep emotional work for sure. So so you're saying that it was just really in 2020 that you started to make this connection with that 8-year-old Teresa.
Absolutely. And it wasn't until, I would say, maybe a year ago, not even a year ago, where I realized all the activities that I felt so disconnected from, even my church activities, because I grew up in the church. And I was wondering, why am I not receiving these messages the way I used to? I'm not really feeling like it's moving me. And I just came to awareness, like, oh, because none of these messages are ministering to my 8-year-old. So now I'm spending most of my time, as we're looking for a church home, It's like, who's going to minister to her? Because the adult Teresa's cool. She finds ways. She knows how to have her devotional life. She knows how to pray. She knows how to get people to pray for her. The 8-year-old doesn't. So really looking for those type of ministries in church, social settings, anything that will see her. If they're willing to see her and embrace her, then most likely the rest of us will follow. Because I only focused on my 8-year-old. There's our 15-year-old self, there's a 21-year-old, and who knows, this may be a series, a volume of writings about these different ages. But the 8-year-old has been the one for the most part I've been very overprotective about for the past few years.
Phenomenal. So now you've been in the business of counseling for over 30 years. Tell us
Yes.
a little bit about the work that you're doing for others, because I mean, clearly the work you've done for yourself is amazing. So,
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah. Well, this also came from 2020. See, this is so I could just say, who can say they fake COVID? I definitely, wouldn't be able to say that's an oxymoron, but it was even out of that experience that it was like, oh my gosh, what is going on with the healers? Because I was one of them where we would sit and we were like, what? We don't know what we can, what we don't know what to do. I mean, we haven't lived through this either. And what are we supposed to share with our clients? We didn't have anything to give. We didn't, we were stressed, we were traumatized as well. So I found a lot of other healers such as myself burning out. We were so tapped out because we just didn't have the answers. We couldn't hold it anymore. We couldn't hold for ourselves, our children, and for our clients. There were a few I knew that left the field. A lot of people restructured their practices and started reducing their caseloads because it was just like we just couldn't hold it all. And then that's what got me thinking about, oh my gosh, really, we need to be held as well. We're doing all this holding for everyone. So my passion for healing the healers came from COVID because I myself was burnt out. Many of my therapist friends were burnt out. And it just caused us to really look within. A lot of us were already in our own therapy because in order to do this type of work, you kind of only take your clients as far as you've gone in your own work. So really ethically, I think every therapist should have their own therapist. So it was just imperative for me to make a platform where it was all about them because no one sees that. No one assumes that, oh, well, you're a therapist, so you might need support too. They just assume you're a therapist, so you should have it all figured out. Because you help other people. So what's your problem? And so when my interest to other healers beyond psychotherapists started to develop, I noticed a lot of my physician friends still being verbally abused in the emergency room, the demonization of the medical field because of the toxic social political environment we found ourselves in. A lot of our physicians are really struggling and they were burning out before. I mean, they were stressed before, but the rates of suicide, the rates of depression has it just doubled. And now that I work with medical residents and I work with physicians now, I'm seeing that a lot of them are not well. So I was thinking to myself, this goes beyond psychotherapists. I mean, these are physicians, nurses, other healers, and anyone in the front lines of care where people expect you to do the holding. And it's like, well, who holds us? So my whole passion for healing the healers came out of that. And I have made that now my mission, my brand, my platform. And so I intentionally target other healers, treatment providers as my clients.
wow, what a gift you are, like to be able to find that work within you and then to be able to write that story, now share that story. It's a great gift for us receiving it who get to read it. So I'm thinking, I mean, your story in your book here is a tremendous gift for those that we can show others that we see them, that they do
Yes,
belong, and
yes,
that this story was written to heal. And
yes,
what a beautiful gift for somebody. So,
yes,
with that said, where can we buy a book for ourselves? And I think we need about 10 other books that we
yes.
can gift to others to make sure that we, the giver of that book, that gift, that we see them and that they belong to us.
That's
Where can we get the book?
perfect. Definitely. My website is being restructured, so at some point they'll be able to get it there. But initially, they can get it by emailing me at teresab@restorativeplace.com,
Okay.
or my Facebook page, Restorative Place. It's the URL is Restorative Place for Facebook, and it'll be posted on there as well. So yeah, those are the two places to begin, and then my website shortly after.
Awesome. Well, that's very personal of you to allow us to email you directly and
Yes.
get a copy of this book. But just as you were sharing more the in depth and the behind the curtain on why you wrote this story, yeah, I think you summarize that time of the pandemic as it it changed a lot of us, but we've also not healed yet. And
No.
your story allows us to see that, we're not alone in that, and
Yeah.
that we are enough, and it's okay to
Yes.
be where we're at. So, definitely, if you're listening right now and you're feeling that way, or you know somebody that may be highly impacted, I mean, this is your gift of healing right here. Um, so, Teresa, you have shared such amazing information and nuggets that we can absolutely 100% uh, take away. And so I want to really thank you for being so vulnerable, for being so
Thanks.
open. I mean, that's a very deep, intimate part of your world, your 8-year-old self. So it takes a lot of courage to, shine a light on her and say, this is who she is. This is how she
Yes.
feels. So I really want to thank you for that. Um,
Welcome.
Perhaps we can conclude with your any final words of wisdoms or a last message to our listeners today.
Yeah, and I thank you for summarizing because I actually forgot what my take home. You speak of this experience of belonging and having a sense of community around what we go through. And research actually has supported that. What makes trauma endure and probably most damaging is this experience of aloneness in it. And it's interesting with COVID, it isolated us from relationships. So obviously, those of us who've been traumatized in relationship, coming back to this new world where we have to learn to trust and be part of again is a scary one. So I think so much of what the work I want to do is not only bring back our humanity as healers, but bring back our sense of community, um, that we can trust again each other. Because it's through that I think trauma then no longer has the loudest voice in the room. Is when we have people who can walk alongside us and have shared meaning and bear witness and will not leave or judge. So I think that's the biggest thing is that if us healers, if we can find that, if any of us can find that, I think we're on the road back then.
I love that. And
Mhm.
if I could speak to your 8-year-old
Mhm.
Teresa, you are
Mhm.
beautiful. You're beautiful at 8.
Ah.
You're beautiful today, and it's your
Mhm.
heart. Your heart is
Yeah.
beautiful. Such a gift. I want to thank the amazing Dr. Teresa Barnes coming in here and just sharing who she is with us, keeping it real, and love you for that. Thank you so, so much.
Thank
And to our
you.
listeners today, I want to thank you for joining in. And if you feel a connection or if you want to learn more about Dr. Teresa Barnes, you can find her at restorativeplace.com. Learn all about her, connect with her. She's an open book. She's sharing
Yes.
it all, and especially if you're needing extra support in that area, please
I
definitely.
I do actually want to say my website is restorativeplacepllc.com. It's a little tricky. So even though my email is restorativeplace.com, the website is just restorativeplacepllc.com.
Okay, pllc.com. We got it. All
Yeah.
right.
All
Thank you
righty.
so much, Teresa. I wish you a great day, and I wish our listeners today, wherever you are in this world, I want to wish you a really good day too.